My name is Jaime Huerta, and I work in the Federal Program Compliance Division at the Texas Education Agency. In this program webinar, I will be providing you with general information about the Title II Part A Supporting Effective Instruction program. The Title II Part A program is authorized under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act as amended by the Every Student Succeeds Act, which I will refer to as ESSA throughout the program webinar. The purpose of the Title II Part A program is to increase student academic achievement consistent with the challenging state academic standards, improve the quality and effectiveness of teachers, principals, and other school leaders, increase the number of teachers, principals, and other school leaders who are effective in improving student academic achievement in schools, and provide low-income and minority students greater access to effective teachers, principals, and other school leaders. The intent of Title II Part A funding is to support teachers, principals, and other school leaders in their work to improve the overall quality of instruction and ensure equity of educational opportunity for all students. The process TEA uses to determine LEA allocations is detailed in the ESSA Funding Reference Manual that is available in the Handbooks and Other Guidance section of TEA's Finance and Grants website. Allocations to individual LEAs are determined based on statutory formulas. Several factors affect LEA allocations, such as census updates, hold harmless amounts, and set-asides for state activities, state-level administration, and charter school funding. The amount of funds LEAs are allocated are also referred to as entitlements. Entitlement amounts for the current school year for Title II Part A and other grants are available on the TEA website. You can access the web page by going to the TEA homepage. Locate the Finance and Grants header menu, click on it. A drop-down menu will appear. Under the Grants column, locate Applying for a Grant and click on it. You will be directed to the Applying for a Grant webpage. On the right-hand side of the webpage, under the Grants side box, locate Entitlements and click on it. You will be directed to the Entitlements webpage. This page references the entitlements for all of TEA's formula grant programs. You will need to scroll down to find the section entitled Every Student Succeeds Act ESSA Consolidated Application and click on a report link to access the entitlements report. The report will open and the LEA entitlements for the Title II Part A program can be found under the column labeled T2PA for all the LEAs that have been allocated funding for the Title II Part A program. Next, I will provide a program description of the Title II Part A program. LEAs can implement Title II Part A activities under 3 areas of focus. The first area of focus is recruiting and retaining effective teachers and principals. The second area of focus is professional development and educator growth. And the third area of focus is other evidence-based activities. If an LEA applies for Title II Part A funding, they are required to establish program compliance by meeting programmatic requirements. LEAs are required to describe how the Title II Part A program activities align to the challenging state academic standards. LEAs are also required to prioritize their Title II Part A funds for use at Title I Part A campuses identified for school improvement and campuses serving Title I Part A students. LEAs are also required to have a system of professional growth and improvement. Timely and meaningful stakeholder consultation is a critical requirement that can be found throughout the ESSA statute. It is important for LEAs to ensure that their processes and procedures include elements that document timely and meaningful consultation with stakeholders in the processes associated with planning, implementing, and evaluating the Title II Part A program. As they plan for, implement, and evaluate their program, LEAs are required to meaningfully consult with all the required stakeholders. Required stakeholder groups include teachers, principals, other school leaders, paraprofessionals, specialized instructional support personnel, charter school leaders in an independent school district that operates in district charter schools, parents, community partners, and other organizations or partners with relevant and demonstrated expertise in programs and activities designed to meet the purpose of Title II Part A. LEAs are also required to seek advice from the required stakeholders noted regarding how best to improve the LEA's activities to meet the purpose of Title II Part A, and they are also required to use data and ongoing consultation to continually update and improve Title II Part A activities. Coordination is another critical requirement that can be found throughout the ESSA statute. In order to increase program effectiveness, eliminate duplication, and reduce fragmentation of the instructional program, coordination of professional development activities is a critical requirement of Title II Part A. LEAs are required to coordinate Title II Part A professional development activities with professional development activities provided through other federal and state or local programs. And they are also required to coordinate their professional development activities with other related strategies, programs, and activities being conducted in the community. Since the primary focus of Title II Part A is professional development, the ESSA statute includes a very extensive definition. As you can see here, it is noted on 3 pages of the statute. The condensed version of the definition is that professional development activities should be sustained, intensive, collaborative, job-embedded, data-driven, personalized or based on information from an evaluation and support system, and classroom-focused, rather than standalone one-day or short-term professional development that does not connect to a larger school-wide or individualized plan. The Title II Part A program has one ESSA statutory fiscal requirement. The one statutory fiscal requirement for the Title II Part A program is supplement not supplant. It is important to note that the supplement not supplant provisions for the Title II Part A program are different than those associated with the Title I Part A program. Preferably, the LEA would budget and expend federal dollars so as to avoid any of the following 3 traditional presumptions entirely: providing services required under state or local law, providing same services as those provided in prior school year with state or local funds, providing the same services in federal and non-federal programs. For detailed information about supplement not supplant, see the TEA Supplement Not Supplant Handbook. It is important for LEAs to be familiar with the use of funds requirements associated with the Title II Part A program to maximize the use of program funds and to document appropriate use of such funds. LEAs can use this checklist to determine whether an activity and/or resource meets the use of funds requirements. The 5 items included on the checklist are: supplement not supplant, prioritization of funds, address the learning needs of all students, EDGAR requirements, and LEA policies and procedures. The first item is supplement not supplant. As provided earlier, LEA should ensure that the use of funds is supplemental and not considered a supplant as per the traditional presumptions of supplant noted in the handbook. The second item is prioritization of funds. As mentioned earlier, when trying to determine appropriate use of funds, LEAs shall ensure that they have prioritized their Title II Part A funds for use at Title I Part A campuses identified for school improvement and campuses serving Title I Part A students. The third item is addressing the learning needs of all students. LEAs shall ensure that Title II Part A activities and/or resources address the learning needs of all students, including children with disabilities, English learners, and gifted and talented students. Additionally, there are other use of funds requirements. LEA activities and/or resources shall be identified in the Comprehensive Needs Assessment, included in the District Improvement Plan and/or Campus Improvement Plan. The plan should address how the activity and/or resource identified will be aligned with the challenging state academic standards and ensure that the planning process for the Title II Part A program meets the requirements for meaningful consultation of stakeholders and coordination. The use of funds should also be considered reasonable, necessary to carry out the intent and purpose of Title II Part A, allocable, and allowable under Title II Part A. Here is a reminder that if the use of funds is related to professional development, the activity must also meet the definition noted in the ESSA statute, which was mentioned previously. The fourth item on the use of funds checklist is EDGAR requirements. The acronym EDGAR stands for Education Department General Administrative Regulations. This regulatory document is published by the U.S. Department of Education, and LEAs must ensure that the use of funds meets all requirements noted in EDGAR. Some examples of EDGAR regulations include the requirement that LEAs request approval or provide justification before taking certain actions involving grant funds. LEAs must implement internal controls for the administration of federal grants. EDGAR also lays out procurement requirements for LEAs and provides information related to allowable costs. All regulations can be accessed on the U.S. Department of Education EDGAR webpage. The fifth and final item is LEA policies and procedures. It is important to note that when an LEA has a more restrictive policy and/or procedure, such policy and/or procedure is required to be followed. Some examples of LEA policies and procedures include Board Policy, Accounting Procedures Manual, Internal Controls Procedures, and Travel Procedures. Note that this is not an all-inclusive list. Your organization may have additional policies and procedures in place that would affect the use of funds. We will now look at the carryover of funds process for the Title II Part A program. Title II Part A funds remaining at the end of a grant period are made available to grant recipients through a carryover process. This allows grant recipients to use unobligated balances from the prior fiscal year in the current fiscal year. Once a grant closes, TEA grant staff calculate carryover amounts and make the funds available to eligible grant recipients through the current approved applications. It is important to note that there is no percent threshold for carryover of Title II Part A funds, and an LEA has 27 months to expend Title II Part A funds. LEAs that apply for Title II Part A are required to comply with the uniform provisions for providing equitable services to private schools. The requirements for private school equitable services are specified in Title 8, Section 8501. Please note that the requirements highlighted here are not all the requirements associated with private school equitable services as related to the Title II Part A program. Some of the Title II Part A requirements include the following: educational services or other benefits, including materials and equipment, shall be secular, neutral, and non-ideological. Educational services and other benefits for eligible private school teachers and other education personnel shall be equitable in comparison to service and other benefits for public school teachers participating under Title II Part A. And additionally, they should be provided in a timely manner. For additional detailed information related to this topic, you may want to visit the TEA Private School Equitable Services webpage. It is the responsibility of the Texas Education Agency to ensure that LEAs are complying with all requirements. Thus, there are several ways in which the agency monitors compliance. Upon certification and submission of the ESSA Consolidated Federal Grant Application, LEAs have applied for Title II Part A funds certify that they will comply with all requirements noted in statute as noted in the program-specific provisions and assurances. They can be found on the TEA Grant Opportunities webpage for the ESSA Consolidated Federal Grant Application. The program-specific provisions and assurances for the Title II Part A program are included in the ESSA Consolidated Federal Grant Application documents that can be accessed by scrolling down to the Application and Support Information section. There are two types of compliance monitoring: program requirements compliance monitoring and fiscal-related compliance monitoring. The Federal Program Compliance Division monitors implementation of program requirements through a random validation process where LEAs are randomly selected to provide TEA with evidence of implementation of program requirements. And LEAs are also required to submit a compliance report at the end of the grant year where they indicate their compliance status for all program requirements. On the fiscal side, the Federal Fiscal Monitoring Division is responsible for monitoring the expenditures of federal grant subrecipients to ensure federal funds are used for authorized purposes in compliance with federal statutes, regulations, and the terms and conditions of federal awards. We will now be looking at the resources available for the Title II Part A program. The Title II Part A webpage can be accessed by going to the TEA homepage, locate the Finance and Grants header menu, click on it, and a drop-down menu will appear. Under the Grants column, locate ESSA Program Compliance and click on it. You will be directed to the Federal Program Compliance Division's webpage. Locate the Title II Part A Supporting Effective Instruction webpage link and click on it. You will be directed to the Title II Part A program webpage. Resources can be found by scrolling down the right-hand side of the Title II Part A webpage to the Resources section. An additional resource is a Title II Part A program guide. When the program guide becomes available, You will be able to download it from the Resources section of the Title II Part A webpage as referenced on the previous slide. The features of the program guide will include an interactive table of contents. Web resources will be identified after each major section of the guide. A frequently asked questions section is also referenced after each major section of the guide, and the document has an A through Z topic list that serves as a topic index organized alphabetically for easy access to information needed. We will also be posting additional webinars like this one aimed at providing stakeholders with detailed information on specific topics of interest. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, additional flexibility in the administration of federal grant programs is likely to be issued by the U.S. Department of Education. Any additional flexibility for the Title II Part A program that is available to LEAs related to COVID-19 will be provided on TEA's Grant Compliance and Administration page. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the Title II Part A program. If you have any questions or need additional information, please reach out to us via telephone at 512-463-9499 or via our division email address, which is essaSupport@tea.texas.gov. Thank you.